Hey guys and gals, Board now, back with you on this video. I will be reviewing Season 1, Episode 9 of From. The episode is called Into the Woods. Full spoilers from the start of this review. So this is a really solid episode heading into the season finale, and the main plot of the episode is Boyd and Sarah as they go into the woods. And you get a nice little arc really between them in the episode, because when they first head in, Boyd is making it clear to her that the only reason you're still alive is because the preacher had this faith in you. He believed you had the answers to getting us out of there. So you need to prove him right. And they have this really awkward connection or dynamic when they first go in, where he's very much untrusting of her, but their bond grows over the course of the episode, partly because they have to work together at various times. He has to support her when she has a freak out. At some point she has a bad reaction to some noises in some trees. Like at one point they discover bottles hanging from trees randomly, and some noises come in and she can hear voices in her head again, and that really, she has a reaction to that, similar to sort of a fit. So he has to be there to bring her around, and they start getting different information. It's revealed that it's a female voice this time, which she, or at least it's suggested in the episode, and that could be Boyd's wife talking to him, or talking to him through her, sending him a message from the grave. And it's once again playing into that theme of him being given signs, and this idea of religion or faith. Then it is like a loved one who's now passed, just sending him these messages to guide him, but then it's through Sarah. So these scenes in the woods are really well done. There's a very spooky vibe to some of them, and as I said, the dynamic between the two and the way it develops is quite interesting. And at one point they're in the tent, because she leads him to this tent where she's been guided, and they go inside, and that's where we get the weird cliffhanger of the episode, because they start hearing all sorts of noises, and there's something to do with, in the message, mentioned the fisherman, and that's why Boyd thinks it could be a message from his wife or something like that, because it's the name that she called him in the past, which we saw in the flashback in the last episode. But we get this really weird end to the episode where you can hear this loud horn from outside, and you can just hear all this activity, and it appears to be something like a ship horn. That's what I thought I heard anyway, so it could be then that's linked to the message from the woman, the voice in Sarah's head of it being the fisherman. So that stuff is going on, so it's definitely doing the, well, okay, what exactly is in these woods type thing, and are we getting different things crossed over? Are we going more and more into fantasy territory? I guess we'll find out, certainly in the last episode, but maybe even more so in the next season. So that's a good lead plot, and we get more drama around the town as they're setting out the rules for how things are going to be now that different people from the other house have come over into the other house. And Donna is really freaking out, and she's particularly upset with Kenny because there's a bit of a trust issue there, where she says, I don't really know you, and Boyd at least had the respect to just let me get on and do my own thing. So she sort of thinks that he's interfering a bit too much, and things come to a head after this guy Eric hangs himself at the place, and like it hits her really hard, which you can understand, although she does take it out a bit too much on Kenny. But there's this funny line, because like when Ellis hears about it, he says, well, Eric, I didn't see it coming, and that just seems like a funny line, considering we don't know Eric. Like, before this episode we've never met him. I think we get a small scene with him before he hangs himself, and again, it's just one of those things which it's selling the threat, it's selling the stakes and the tension amongst this group, and how difficult things are at this point. But it's just one of those things where it doesn't really hit you too hard, the impact, because you don't know Eric. But we've at least gotten to know Donna over the course of this season, so it probably means something that it hits her so hard. And as someone who's running this place and is like big into like guiding the people and you know, creating the rules and kind of motivating them, for her to lose someone like that, for someone to give up like that does hit her quite hard, and you can see that. There's also another nice little smaller scene with Kirsty, and Kenny, where she's there and supportive, and she just says to him, if things get too much for you, then just please let me know, promise, then you will come to me. And he says he will. So there's that sense with Kenny that he's now been suddenly thrown into this position of responsibility since Boyd has gone into the woods, and suddenly a lot of pressure has fallen on his shoulders. So there's a big question, like, can he really deal with that? We get more with like with Jimmy and with Jade and the transition radio, and they're struggling to get it off the ground. Like, they're not getting the right energy, they can't quite get it to work. Also, Tabitha has a nightmare of Jimmy like being hung, or he hangs himself. It's like, that's just a warning to her. And we get stuff with her and Julie. They're definitely bonding again because of Tabitha and Jimmy supporting Julie after what happened in the previous episode, or the episode before that. So they're working together on the stuff in the basement to try and see this tunnel through and get to the end of it. So that's good stuff from their point of view. But yeah, tension with Jimmy and with Jade, who's again being an arsehole and being sarcastic, and he's moaning to everybody in this episode. Julie like lays into him at one point. She's like, just for tearing into like her dad, and she says, "What, do you have any idea what he's going through?" And just calls him an arsehole. And again, you have this little almost Sawyer type moment from Jade where he's like, "Oh, you're a good daughter," and it's a little bit on the flirtatious side. I don't know if we would really go down that route, because Julie is quite young. I'm not quite sure how old she's meant to be, but there's just that little bit of thing where it's a Sawyer type moment where he's impressed by the guts of this younger girl, and it's like, oh well, you've got spunk type, that type moment. Anyway, it might not lead to anything like more than that, but again, definitely strong Sawyer vibes from Jade. And there's a great scene actually where he's like whinging to Kenny's mother, and she just snaps, because she's one of these characters who for the large part has just been quite reserved and just been getting on with things, and she just snaps at him, says, "You're always moaning," and like she has this funny like exchange where it's like, you want energy, and she just flicks the light on and off again. And I like the way she puts him in his place, and that actually leads to him getting the idea that they can use the lines, like the electric cables that then you use for the lights, to like connect them to stuff. So it's one of those scenes. It's a good scene, and things are rolling in this episode quite nicely into the finale. So that's episode 9 of season 1 of From Into the Woods. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below if you've been watching this show. Like and subscribe as always, and share me out on social media. Also, you can support the channel monetarily at patreon.com/borednow. But thanks for listening. See you again soon.